may not begin with the less access to funding, but certainly planning us.
The Chamber of Industry and Commerce comes in. Again, the government have been speaking about public-private partnership.
Those parents who were not able to afford devices, we went through most of the school year, and a lot of students did.
Our corporate social responsibility initiatives range from youth in business, charitable programs including disaster relief, environmental initiatives, and the Period Poverty Project in order to improve access for young girls and women. After all, menstrual hygiene is a human right, period.
Crown Her program, a very, very good initiative looking to provide sanitary products to those in need, menstruating women of various ages. At least I think it's one product per month. Let me congratulate you on that. Thank you so much.
I have nothing but praise for the Crown Her project team. The eventual aim is to, and the ambition is for legislation to provide at least one free menstrual product for the category of menstruating women, from young ladies to women in their 40s and 50s. It's really about understanding and recognizing gender equity and menstrual equity, especially in these times where prices are going where they are.
Lights that come in to capitalize on that business, but then you have others that had no choice but to close their doors. And by doing that, you still have rent to pay, because of course they were binded by a contract. Admittedly, the rent is significantly reduced, but if your revenue is zero, where are you going to find the money from to pay the reduced rent?
Mm-hmm. It's sounding very grim at this point in time, and I'm sure it's going to be an even grimmer picture once this 3-week lockdown period comes to an end. And there is the potential, given how we're seeing, the COVID infection spiking, that government may even consider extending it further. How many more businesses are going to be hanging by a thread?
And of course, I've extracted some of these slides from the research that was done in terms of the impact of COVID-19 and how people are seeing it in terms of the Tunapuna Corporation. So this is something that was commissioned by the Greater Tunapuna Chamber. And of course, 192 businesses surveyed, 47% fully reopened. And this was done in August, as the President mentioned. Since the COVID-19, an additional 28 have reopened with reduced staff, and that says that people are unemployed. All right. And if they're unemployed, that means that it is affecting their revenue. And then you have a combined 75% of businesses have lifted, I think I put something off there. Right. They have reopened following the COVID-19, the lifting of the COVID-19 restrictions. Again, another schematic in terms of how COVID-19 has impacted on business in our community. So of the 145 businesses that employed persons, 43% have retained all employees, which means that 57% didn't. 13% were able to retain most employees. Only 7% of businesses were unable to bring back any employees. But it means that we have people there who have been directly impacted by COVID-19, i.e. they have lost their jobs and they've been put on some kind of arrangement. We need to know what's happening in our community because there are implications.
If I could start with you, Ms. Senhouse. We do appreciate you taking the time to join us this morning. And I know from a business perspective, one of the repeated lamentations of the business community, especially the service sector, and I know that the nature of your business is a bit different, is that businesses, in the vast majority they maintain, have been following the protocols, have been ensuring that their staff are best prepared, that customers ensure that they follow the protocols. And there's a sense from the business community that they are being made to pay for the relaxed attitude of the general public or other elements of the community. Do you share that view?
Thank you so much for staying with us. We are now joined by President of the Greater Tunapuna Chamber of Industry and Commerce, Melissa Senhouse, to tell us how businesses are coping with COVID-19. What are some of the challenges the Chamber has been experiencing, including crime, and what, of course, are the plans moving ahead in 2022? So share with us, how have businesses been coping with COVID-19, the spend of consumers and so on? How has that been affecting you all?
Well, Vashi, 2020 and 2021 were very challenging years because of the COVID pandemic and the measures that had to be put into place for to save lives. The lockdowns within the country resulted in a loss of revenue for all the businesses, resulted in a loss of revenue for the businesses. And the impact of 2020, any cash reserves that the small and micro businesses may have had were depleted. Then we enter 2021 battered and bruised. This, of course, would have impacted our cash flows. And, you still have bills to pay at the end of the day. And then, of course, because it's a worldwide situation, you have, for the businesses who would have had credit sales, your debtors would have been unable to pay you in a timely manner, further exacerbating the situation. Then we know that the highest expense of most organizations is the wage bill. So you had that factor, you had that human resource challenge whereby, businesses had to make some really hard decisions. to reduce the staff, whether you want to utilize a vacation, and in some cases, unfortunately, termination of staff. And the thing about it is, for a micro and a small business, you are very familiar with your team, with your team members. You know their parents' names, names of their children, and you are acutely aware of their financial situation. So when you have to make a decision to separate from a team member because of the pandemic, in order for the company to survive, it now impacts the mental health. So you had, of course, the impact of the mental health of business owners, and then, of course, to their staff and the family. Because, I mean, you're really caught in a quandary.
Because I know Tunapuna is one of those business districts where you have a lot of family owned and operated, as you mentioned, a small, a micro, where, you tend to be very close-knit. You see, sometimes I would go to a store in Tunapuna for the past decade or so and see that same attendant. You find that stores, and they try to keep their staff on, see them through life and so on. It's quite unfortunate, and I don't think people realize, business people, yes, you're owing staffers, you're owing the bank, and all this mounting pressure together with the pandemic. The economy doesn't seem to be picking up that much. How is consumer spend? Has it increased a bit? Do you find that businesses now are also having to make the decision on what do they buy to sell?
Definitely. Because one of the other challenges that we have, well, actually two of them that will result in this. You have the challenge to obtain foreign exchange, and then also you have the rise and increase in freight. And the situation around the freight is that you end up where the freight is actually costing more than the items within the container. And I mean, by the time you work out your math before the shipment reaches you, at that point, you actually make the decision, what, do I really need to purchase these items? Because when it comes, you're going to sell it for, an increased price. And, if persons don't buy it, then you end up with that stock, which of course would impact your cash flow.